This is part 1 of my cyanotype videos, and in the first one I have combined that technique with the gel plate. Got some nice collage papers too. Hi folks! I finally started my cyanotype project, trying to repeat the techniques you see here. Everybody thinks they're always blue, but the emulsions come in different colors as well. You can tell by these that I made a couple years ago that if you combine things, you can get very interesting results that you can work out, creating results that are similarly interesting to the gel prints. To lure you jelly fans into this, I have combined this first cyanotype session with a gel plate. Also, you don't need that much equipment than what you see in other videos. Basically, all you need is the emulsions, and a cheap UV light. The blue ones I will show you in later parts of this sessions. Today I will be trying the red Solarfast emulsion. I have got some old frames that are, I believe, from the 60s, which are slightly larger than A4, so I start with cutting some watercolor paper to size. As usual, all the materials I use will be listed in the info box below. It is best to have a sturdier paper like this 240 GSM watercolor paper, as you have to put plenty of the emulsion on the paper, which will buckle because of that. Just putting it in the frame to see if it fits, and it does. So what you need to spread the emulsion on the paper is a stiffer bristle brush, because the technique I'm going to put the emulsion on makes interesting patterns with this brush. And I have this wallpaper which I will press into the wet surface. You can see I've used it on the gel plate before, and by that creating a nice pattern in addition to the stencil that I will be using. So this is the Solarfast dye for paper by Jacquard in red, and you don't have to mix the solutions like with the blue one. You can basically put it on the paper and start working with it right away. Very easy, really. I am dripping the emulsion directly onto the paper and spreading it out with a bristle brush. I want the left and right side with distinct brush strokes, and in these slim stripes the solution will give a photoreaction. You'll see it in a minute. It is much more interesting than to just fill the whole page. So when I think it's enough, I'm pressing the wallpaper, that relief wallpaper I showed you before, I'm pressing it into the wet solution. And then letting it sit on there. I'm stapling some very nice drawing books on them and let it sit for a few minutes, I think. Maybe 10 minutes. While I'm waiting, I'll show you my UV light. It is one that was only like 30 euros or so. Don't look into that UV light when it's turned on. It is really bad for your eyes. More for that topic later. I'm taking off the books and the wallpaper. And you can see it made some marks. It is still a little wet, which it's supposed to be. I'm placing on this a stencil that I've designed and cut myself for the gel plate a while ago. Here is the link to that video. You can build a box to hold the lamp, so you don't run any risks for your eyes, and I'll show you how to do that in the upcoming videos. But for now, I'll just attach the lamp to my tripod and leaning it on some box on the right side. Sorry for the bad moving camera work. I'm not made to be a cameraman. You can already see after a minute or so that we have a pattern, we have the stencil shape, and I move the stencil just a little bit so that I get sort of two impressions, so to speak. So I left the UV lamp on for like 6 minutes or so, and you can already see we have a double vision here. We have two impressions of that stencil. Also, that stencil is a little transparent in places. That makes it extra interesting. And all you have to do now is bathe it in water. You can also, maybe even better, to let it under the running water tap, so that you make sure that nothing will react anymore when you take it out. Some people say you should bathe it in the water for at least 10 minutes or so. But I think in this case, with a Solarfast solution, I think 3 minutes are well enough. I let that dry naturally, but as the paper buckled a lot, I will have to iron it. I have a sheet in between that keeps the paper from burning and only letting through the heat. And you don't even have to wet it again or so, it works fine. And then ironing it from the front side as well. So this is the piece now. You can see my plan with the double exposure worked out, and you have those fine lines that the wallpaper gave me. Wonderful, and inspiring me for the workout. I don't know it yet, but later I'm going to add a gel print. But first, the working out with the pencils. I tried the violet as shadows for the wallpaper lines, but then I erased this all because I didn't like the violet and switched to red again. Or should I say I switched to the pink? In any case, I erased the pink or drew it over with the red because the pink wasn't dark enough for my liking. So I'm working on those lines and also working on the shapes of the leaves and some structures and textures on the leaf and in the background. I gave a lot of shadows to them. So now the design really comes out nicely. So you see what I mean? By combining different techniques and stencils and wallpaper and what have you, you can get those interesting backgrounds and foregrounds. So I was a bit unhappy with the monochrome of the image, and I want to add another color by printing a gel plate print. So I dug out my new large stencil. God, it's so clean still. And I want to put the stencil before I print. I want to put it on the image to protect my shapes. And this is an adhesive, especially for stencils, because it doesn't dry and doesn't stick to the paper afterwards. I don't know the brand. I have to look it up because it doesn't say on that little can, on that little spray can. So sorry, this is all a little bit off camera. I don't know. I think it was very late at night and I had a glass of wine. See the pattern that the glue made? That's also nice. So I made some laser copies from my old Spanish newspaper. I also made a video about printing this Sol de la Costa entra en su casa. Here is the link to that video. And now I'm inking up on the plate. And it's a very fine layer because I want to try it I want it to be quite light and not so dark. Because I don't want to lose all my red shapes, wallpaper patterns. And I'm rubbing this in very gently, not too hard. But when I take it off, I can see I'm not taking that print. I need more paint. I want it a little darker and a little more contrast. So I'm inking up more acrylic paint. By the way, this is the Golden Open that stay wet very long, as I usually use them. but it has to be spread out evenly. I'm putting on another of those laser copies. Remember, it has to be a laser copy. The inkjet doesn't work very well. Pressing just a little bit harder, and this looks really nice now. I'm taking off the edges, which are too dark for my liking, and at the same time I have a little water resist there. Can you see that? That's also an interesting detail. So now I'm putting on the image with the attached stencil, and I'm just hoping I won't ruin it. And yeah, it worked fine. I'll get on with this later. First I have to take off the stencil that's attached to the gel plate now and clean the glue off it. But what do we see here? We have left a wonderful ghost print, and I just have to take that one with another color. So we have a little interruption here, going back to the gel plate and having a pure gel plate print. I just love the gel plate so much, I always come back to it. So now I'm brayering on a very transparent golden open color. It's a transparent iron oxide brown, I think. Beautiful color. I want to print this on also a watercolor paper, but this is only like, I think, 90 GSM. Rubbing it in with my rubbing tool and letting it sit for a little bit. And while that's sitting, I'm coming in with, this is a felt table set, I think. And just where I've brayered out the paint on the sides, I'm making some interesting patterns there and pressing it on another rice paper. I just want to make some interesting collage pieces. Using that stencil to make yet another impression, using the same rice paper sheet and taking that off. I'm taking the stencil off, and no, and we have another impression on the same rice paper. And now I also have a lovely sheet of collage paper that I can use in a collage. Or maybe it's just a background for something else. So I let that sit for about 10 minutes and it's picking everything up. And it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This was actually not the main reason for this video, but I think I like it better than the cyanotype print. However, I'm not going to work this one out now, maybe in another video. So we're back to the red one. And I have to say, the red isn't really a red, it is a pink, I would say. That's a little bit disappointing. I was expecting a deep red more. So I'm still working on that, replacing the pink with a darker red and working out some more. I don't know about that black print I made on it. I think the black paint was too wet and I smeared it a little because I was expecting to be able to read some Spanish words here, but it's just very lightly. Naja, it's better than too much paint. And I'll work on the black a little later. And the more I'm working on this one, the more I fall in love with it. It really turned out much more interesting and detailed than I thought it would. And yeah, you know, I'm trying to copy the other cyanotypes I made years ago, but when you try to copy something, it always comes out totally different. You just don't know what you get. That's a little bit like with the Gelli Plate purely. The cyanotype always surprises you. And at this point I have to say that I can only do this one because I did 2 more. And while I was having the UV light on, the fuse popped out and my whole house was dark suddenly, and that happened 2 times, and then I just I had to throw the UV lamp away. It was obviously broken and not safe anymore. And I ordered new ones, and so I can only show you these today. And the next time I will show you another color from the Solarfast. And now I just want to work out the black parts a little bit more. Actually only the sun. And I'm using my Liquitex medium just to have the round of the sun correct. It's just the right size, I think. And I'm working on the sun, and yeah, erasing some of that was too dark because I don't want a rim. I just want well, you'll see. I'll make it a little bit more 3D. Unfortunately, you can't really read the Spanish that's in there, El Sol. So I'm just, of those letters, I'm just making some, I don't know, structures, textures on the sun. Here are clouds in front of the sun. It's just all these details. Wonderful. Ah. And I'm making the rays just a little bit darker. But that'll be all for this one. You see the water effect on the sides? That's lovely. So that's it for today. I'm quite happy with this pinkish red one. And in the next part of this video, I think I'll use the green and the black Solarfast stuff. And in yet another part, I'll show you the blue variation, which needs a little more preparation. Stay with me through this. I promise I'll go back to the gel plate. Until next week. Bye.